Autumn, 1943. A thick, gray fog blanketed the skies over Germany. Thousands of B-17 Flying Fortresses and B-24 Liberators of the U.S. 8th Air Force crawled eastward, carrying bombs. Hope, and a quiet, suffocating fear. Inside those hulking steel giants were hundreds of young men, many barely 19 or 20 years old. They knew full well, every mission like this could be their last. Inside the cramped, wire-riddled tail section, 2nd Lieutenant Alfred, Al, Morgan, tail gunner of the B-17 Lucky Bell, rested his cold hands on the twin Browning .50 cals that had been his silent companions for months. "Another day in hell," Al muttered, eyes peering through layers of frost on the glass. "You say something, Al," came the faint voice of Captain Joe Harrison through the headset. "Just praying the Krauts took the day off today." Al forced a smile, though no one could see. In the cockpit up front, Captain Joe was going over the route one last time, across the North Sea. Over occupied Holland, deep into the heart of Germany. They were flying toward the dead zone, the moment German radar would find them. And swarms of Bf-109s and Fw-190s would dive down like black-winged harbingers of death. Joe tilted his head toward a small photo taped on the panel, his wife and daughter. Bathed in sunlight, he closed his eyes. "For the both of you," he whispered, gripping the yoke tight. Outside, the Lucky Bell rumbled on. At over 20,000 feet, the air was needle cold. The temperature inside could drop to -40 degrees Celsius. Breath froze inside oxygen masks. Metal groaned like a stressed beast under strain. Then, an alarm blasted over the intercom. "Enemy fighters, 3 o'clock high." From the gray abyss ahead, the German fighters burst forth. Small, lightning fast, they dove out of the sun, the Luftwaffe's favorite tactic. Bf-109s streaked down like arrows. Fw-190s sliced sideways through the formation like spinning steel blades. 20mm cannon shells shredded the air. Armor-piercing rounds tore into fuselages. Someone screamed, "Left side! Hit the left! Shoot!" Al swung the turret, eyes locked. An Fw-190 swept across his sights. He inhaled and squeezed the triggers. The guns thundered, the fighter spewed black smoke, spiraled, and vanished behind the clouds. But 8 more were closing in. "We can't hold them off forever," Joe shouted over the radio. "Where the hell are our escorts?" Silence. No P-47s circling back. No P-38s diving in. None of the American escort fighters could fly this far. They had been forced to turn back, hundreds of miles before. And once again, the bombers were alone. "This is our graveyard," Al murmured, a frozen dread crawling up his spine. The Americans called this airspace the bombers' graveyard. Between August and October of 1943, the 8th Air Force lost over 800 bombers, and 16,000 aircrew, sons of America, buried across wheat fields, forests, and the ruins of cities like Regensburg, Bremen, and Schweinfurt. This could not go on. In Washington and London, arguments flared between generals, engineers, and aircraft manufacturers. The U.S. Army Air Forces needed a fighter with double the range, one that could fly from England to Berlin, escort the bombers through the entire mission, and return. No one had ever built such a machine. But if they didn't, daylight bombing would end, and with it, the hope of reclaiming Europe's skies. "We won't survive to see spring without them," Joe said, eyes fixed outside. Al nodded, unseen. Out of that desperation, a radical idea began to take shape. In a concrete walled office in Washington, D.C., General Henry Hap Arnold, commanding general of the U.S. Army Air Forces, stared over casualty reports that bled red ink. War couldn't be waged like this, not with industrial-scale slaughter in the skies. One afternoon in September 1943, Arnold summoned the chief designers of North American Aviation. In a smoke-thick meeting room, he stood and delivered his ultimatum. "We need something no one's ever built before. A fighter that can fly here," he tapped his finger on a map of Europe, "to Berlin. And back." The room fell silent. Edgar Schmued, the lead designer at North American, removed his thick glasses and wiped them slowly. "Sir," Schmued said, "that is almost impossible with current technology." "Almost," Arnold cut in. "I don't want another Thunderbolt. I want a new breed." Schmued looked at the sketch rolled out in front of him, an unfinished prototype, razor-thin wings, long fuselage, and a bubble canopy. It had been originally built to British specifications, not American. Give us 120 days. Schmued replied without blinking. We'll give you what you need. Arnold nodded once. Everyone else rose quietly. That night, the factory at Inglewood, California, blazed with light. Machinists, engineers, and even engineering students worked through the night under two sacred targets: speed and range. One young engineer, Jack, yawned over his drafting table. 1,600 kilometers? One trip to Berlin? And back? Schmued nodded, eyes tired but alive. Yes. The Thunderbolt can't do it. This one must. What'll we call it? Jack grinned faintly. Schmued paused. Mustang. It'll be the wild horse of the skies. December 1942. The English winter cut like steel. At the Rolls-Royce plant in Derby, engineer Ronald Harker flipped through engine test notes inside a wool overcoat. The Allison is good, Harker told a colleague, but it dies above 15.000 feet. We need power at 25.000, 30.000. If we put a Merlin into the Mustang, just to test. His colleague laughed. You're thinking of grafting a Spitfire's heart into an American frame? Harker's eyes gleamed. Why not? They built the perfect airframe. We built the perfect engine. A technical marriage. That night, a secret test was prepared. The Na-73X, fitted with the Merlin 61 engine, was towed onto the runway. Ronald folded his arms, watching the strange hybrid as if it were some airborne predator. Fire it up. The engine roared, not the harsh sputter of a warplane, but a deep, powerful growl, like an awakening beast. Test pilot Jerry Collins opened the throttle. The plane surged forward like nothing he'd ever flown. Once airborne, the new Mustang climbed, sliced through the cloud deck, and soared. No hesitation, no choking at altitude. It lived and lived for war. When Jerry landed, Ronald didn't bother asking. Jerry just laughed, tossing his helmet down. My friend, this thing will own the sky.